The way people think and the way people talk is not in a straight line. We start, we stop, we move up, we move down, we circle backward. We leave things out, we confuse people, they ask questions, we explain, and eventually we get to a point where we think we understand what they understand. The problem is it is messy, sloppy, and just basically inefficient, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. But, like the old cartoon, somewhere along the way a miracle occurs and managed to create the shared meeting with others that we wanted. When it works best, it is usually because we really understand what drives the person we are talking to. What are they persuaded by? What are their values? What are their history? Where are they resistant? Where are they open to persuasion? We do this all the time in our personal lives. I have a job that supposedly doesn't require a lot of travel, but I'm on the road a lot. My retired husband keeps thinking I should be home. So when I find out I have to go on a trip, I don't come home and say, "Yo, babe, I'm out of here." I try to explain it in a way that at the very least mitigates the upset. I don't expect him to cheer that I'm traveling again. Wouldn't really want that, but I want to make the news a bit more palatable. Now, it's also true in our personal lives. We tend to expect others to be persuaded by the things that persuade us. After all, we assume we have the same values. I'm not talking just about big values like freedom, honesty, and justice. I'm also talking about the little values we have, like putting the cap on the toothpaste, when to bring out the trash, and what makes for refrigerator goodness. So in my house, my husband will call for me to come into the kitchen, and he's standing in front of the refrigerator, and he'll fling the doors open and say, "Look at this." And then he'll ask me, "So, can you tell what's wrong?" To which I reply, "Did the refrigerator doors close?" Because in my value system, refrigerator goodness is closed doors, because otherwise, I do know that there is a problem. In Happy's world, refrigerator goodness means things have to go in a particular place, on a particular shelf, and just because there's space doesn't mean you put an item there if that's not where it's supposed to go. So, he keeps expecting me to understand his kind of refrigerator goodness. So not happening. In fact, just between us, I expect to come home from one of these trips and find the refrigerator alphabetized. Here's the thing. We all have something like this with the people in our lives, and we work to manage those different perspectives. But the truth is where it really matters most is where we do it the least, and that's at an organizational level communicating with stakeholders. I want you to think of strategic communication on as a process, but not like a step-by-step do it this way or it won't work process, like baking bread. If you want to bake bread, you have to make sure that you do things in the right order, and you have to follow the recipe, which means using the right ingredients, in the right amounts, in the right order, and following the right steps. Do it wrong, and you might have burnt bread. You might have bread that resembles a piece of cardboard, or bread that just tastes kind of yucky. Because bread making is a process that must be followed step by step. Wouldn't it be great if we had a recipe for strategic communication and all we had to do was follow the steps in the recipe with the right ingredients, in the right amounts, in the right order, and we would have magically transformed stakeholders? Effective, impactful communication that moves our stakeholders in the direction we wanted. But water's wet, rocks are hard, and communication doesn't work that way. That's why we think of strategic communication as a puzzle. You have to have all the pieces, but there isn't one step-by-step approach to putting the puzzle together. Think of it as an iterative process, one that doesn't have a neat beginning, middle, and end. When you go to bake bread, you start with the ingredients, you follow the recipe, and at the end you have bread. It's repeatable, it's predictable, and it's reliable, unlike organizational and human communication, which, truth be told, is often a hot mess.